Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and today I'm going to be reviewing to you F-Zero 99 for the Nintendo Switch. Can you believe it's been 20 years since the last console F-Zero game, and about 18 or 19 years since the last F-Zero game, period? So was it worth the agonizingly long wait for a new entry? In my opinion, yes and no. On one hand, I like the fact that they finally took the chaotic 30 racers at once approach from F-Zero X and GX and translated that to 99 racers in an online format. Yes, this is the first time you can go online in an F-Zero game, such a novel concept. But on the other hand, it's based on the Super Nintendo version, which is notorious for having really wonky controls, and they're not too much fixed here. So the question is it worth it as a fun battle royale that happens to be free if you already have a Switch Online membership? So the premise is more or less the same as the original F-Zero. You just go as fast as you can and try to attack your opponents as much as possible and try to get in first place. You have a spin attack that you can use to ram against your opponents. However, it takes a while for the spin attack to recharge so that you don't abuse it. You can make it refill faster by going off of ramps, but apart from that, you just gotta strategically know when you want to bump into your opponents. If an opponent's machine is smoking, which means that they have low power, if you boost or spin dash into that person, you KO that opponent, and then you refill your power meter faster. In fact, there's only one other way to refill your power meter, and that's by going through a pit area, which only occurs once per race, and it's usually right in front of the finish line. So you gotta really be strategic, because not only is your power meter your life bar, but you also lose power when you boost. So it's a constant risk-reward mentality of, do I want to sacrifice my life force for the sake of getting faster? One cool thing that's a new addition to F-Zero 99 is the ability to do a super boost. As machines collide into each other, they'll release these yellow power pellet type objects known as super sparks. And when you collect enough of them, I almost forgot to mention, you can also get more of them by bumping into a golden bumper car. And then if you press A, you get into a sky area of sorts, where it's like a separate racetrack above the other racers, where you constantly go fast, you can't collide into the walls, and there's also boost pads to make you go even faster, and they'll also automatically refill your health when you pass by a pit area rather than you manually having to drive through it. This is pretty cool, as it doesn't break the game. You're not super overpowered when you're in this area, but it's also a nice reward for stopping to collect rather than simply being competitive all the time. One thing that the game does to try to keep things fair is that it has a rank out system. So if you're trailing way too far behind in the race, the game's just automatically going to KO you. So it encourages you to not be too careful in the race, because it's good to be cautious, because it is very easy to run out of power with all the steep turns and people colliding into you all the time. But it's also good to at least try to take some risks. This is not like Mario Kart, where if you get hit by an item, you get knocked back a little bit, but then you get back up on your feet, or if you fall off the course, then Lakitu will bring you back. No. If you run out of power, you're eliminated. End of story. You have to start all over again on a new match. Speaking of new matches, one of the things that this game does way better than the other 99 and 35 games Nintendo has put out is actually teaching you how to play the game. Instead of just plopping you right into the action, the game has a tutorial section where you play against computer opponents so that you can really maximize your skills. Even if that's not enough, the game has an extensive tips menu so that you're never at a loss of how to actually play the game. The tips don't try to give you advice on when, say, the best time to boost, the best time to do sharp turns, but they give you enough information so that you know at least the gist of what you're doing. One thing that's a bit disappointing is that after you've mastered your skills, you can no longer face off against computer opponents, which was one of my biggest gripes against Fall Guys, was that you had to be online and you had to face people in real time. There is an offline component to this game where you can practice certain courses that you've unlocked, but you don't face off against any other racers, you're just racing by yourself. So any people thinking, ooh, this is a nice remake of the original F-Zero are probably going to be a little bit disappointed. There are special races you can attend. There's the Grand Prix, which are only open certain times of the day, which is a bit frustrating. It's the same problem I had with Salmon Run, where it's basically an elimination round where you play on 5 different tracks and the rank out number gets lower every time, so eventually it'll get to only the best 20 can advance. And I find that these were pretty good. I came in 21st place on the one that I played. I just don't like the time lock. There are also special races that are timed, and while that's still a time lock mechanism, at least you can still play them whenever you want. They just rotate between the different styles. So one might be, hey, we're going to send you through the toughest race courses. It's going to be a 3-race gauntlet. It's going to be a team battle. However, some of these require tickets. Now, the way you get tickets is just by doing good and hitting certain milestones, such as super boosting a lot or KOing people. You also gain level ups this way, as the stronger your level, the more rewards you'll get. You also have a letter ranking that increases if you defeat your rivals. The game chooses 4 opponents who are ranked around the same as you, give or take a few levels, and if you place higher than those rivals or even KO them, then you will increase your rank. But if all 4 of them beat you, then your rank will decrease. So it's another incentive for you to get good and really try to pulverize your opponents. When you have enough custom items, you can go into the workshop to customize which vehicle you want. There are the original 4 from the original F-Zero, so that makes it easier to not be overwhelmed by the various options like maybe Mario Kart 7 would do. You can unlock different color schemes for your vehicle, different boost effects, and badges depending on what milestones you've reached, so that sort of doubles as the game's achievements menu. You can only equip 3 badges at once though, so make sure you really want your opponents to know what your achievements are, because the only way they're going to see them is through spectating, and even then I'm not sure if there's a way to hover over the badges to see what they are, as I didn't really like spectating. I just wanted to get on with the next match. One thing that's a bit interesting about spectating is that sometimes if you rank out, you can turn into a lucky bumper where you can ram into other opponents to gain bonus points. The caveat is that you're moving towards the screen instead of away from it, so that might make you a little bit uneasy, but thankfully you only move left and right. You don't have to worry about pushing the control stick towards the screen. Overall, I found F-Zero 99 to be a pretty enjoyable experience at first, but the more that I played it, the more I started to realize that it's an extremely high skill ceiling type of game. It's not as accessible as Mario Kart. And I guess the nature of online mode meant that you're trying to be like the dominant player, but unlike the other 99 games where the core gameplay was simple, but actually beating other players was where the difficulty came in, the original F-Zero was already very tough, and the sequels ramped up the difficulty, and this just brings that difficulty to a whole new level. That's the point though, because F-Zero games are known for being hard, unlike Mario Kart. But at the same time, if you're hoping for a nice casual racing experience, I suggest you look elsewhere. Now the game is free if you have Switch Online, so you don't have to pay for anything, you can just jump right into it. But at the same time, if you're worried about, say, hard drive space or don't want to waste your time with other free-to-play games on Switch, ask yourself if you want something that's truly going to test your skills, where you're going to have to constantly compete to see who is the best, or if you even like Super Nintendo racers at all. If you didn't like the original F-Zero, you're probably not going to like this one very much. However, one thing that is nice is that there are no microtransactions. Once you boot up the game, you get pretty much everything right away. Now, whether there will be DLC in the future, I don't know, but I can at least promise that there are no pay-to-win elements. There are no moments where you can pay for additional things. In fact, everything that you unlock is done by achievements rather than through money. So, it's not free to play, it's flat out free. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and if you'll be getting this game. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters Matthew Rakowski, Spoon Ghost, and Splatcat for helping me out financially. The link will be in the description if you'd also like to help. And until the next time, remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. Bye!